Hey guys, welcome back to Young Americans Abroad, your best place for weekly content on young American soccer players playing overseas. My name's Austin Van Churn.
And my name's Patrick Ferry.
And as always, welcome to our show. Well, guys, we're back for another episode this week, and today we want to talk about a renaissance from a player over in Germany.
And also, Austin, one of our Scottish Yankees helped Celtic clinch the SPL title.
And finally, we go in depth on one American keeper keeping his team's title hopes alive. All that and more in this episode. So to start our episode today, we want to talk about Christian Pulisic, who, Pat, had a great game for Borussia Dortmund in their unfortunate 2-2 draw. But, you know, like I said, Christian Pulisic in this game was fantastic. He actually scored Dortmund's first goal and played a hand in the second goal as well, which, was a goal that came about off of a foul on Christian Pulisic. And, it was a free kick that Dortmund scored. So a great game from him, Pat. The goal was fantastic. He dribbled by, I think it was like 3 defenders from Bremen.
Austin, that was unreal. It looked like he was playing in FIFA, like a video game, just full sprint.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he literally just sidestepped, right through Bremen's defense, and scored a great goal. And this whole game he was just super active, super dangerous, and he really played with an intensity, Pat, that I don't think we've really seen all that often from him at Dortmund. We've seen a lot of intensity from him at the national team or with the national team at that level. And in this game, he came out right from the start. And, I think it was before the goal, he even had a really good opportunity coming down the field where I think he laid the ball off and it could have been an assist, right in the beginning of the game. And, he also had a play later in the game where he crossed the ball in the box to, I believe it was Manuel Akanji, Dortmund's center back, and he completely scuffed the ball and missed it, and it was almost a goal. Yeah, it was disappointing, and it would have been an assist for Pulisic. But in this game, he was just awesome, Pat. I can't really say it any other way. It was the way I wanted to see Christian Pulisic play for a long time now, and it is what I've been kind of trying to say whenever I feel we talk about Christian on the show.
And would you say this is one of his best performances, Austin, in the Bundesliga?
As a whole, like the 3 years he's played in the Bundesliga?
I guess just for this season, I guess, with his with Sancho coming into the lineup and things like that and some injuries. What did you say, I guess, overall?
Well, yeah, I think it was definitely his best performance this year. Playing with Sancho for once, I feel in this game, they actually combined really well with each other, where I feel like they haven't combined so well this season. But to be honest with you, Pat, I think this was one of Pulisic's best performances from his entire time at Dortmund. I don't know if it was his best performance, but I think it was definitely in the top 10, top 5, maybe even.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
Dortmund.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. And I know we were talking about it a little bit off camera, but not only were his runs so dangerous, but you mentioned I think he was passing well and connecting well with his teammates and just looked potent throughout the games, whether or not he was doing those kind of full amazing sprints and getting by players.
Right. Yeah, he really picked his moments. It wasn't just sprinting all the time, taking players on. He was smart when he did take players on. Like for the goal, for instance, that was, a perfect time to go at the defense. But, my biggest, I guess, issue with Pulisic, Pat, is that, he's become kind of a one-trick pony where he really just, whenever he has the ball, especially when it's in the final third, he'll just try to dribble at players, no matter what, even if there's better options that present themselves. And I think teams have really started to figure that out about him. But in this game, it was pretty much the opposite. He did take players on from time to time, but, there was points where he would, make the safe pass, shuffle possession around instead of trying to attack into a corner, find his way into a corner. He was smart about when to actually go at the defense, and that was something that I've been wanting to see from him at the club level for a long time. So I'm really happy we saw it from him. This past weekend, it was great.
I'm sure you were cheering, at your TV there.
Yeah, it was so good that I literally watched the game again that night, because it was just like in the moment when I was watching the game, I was like, man, this is great from Pulisic, and then I wanted to watch it again to see if it was as good as I first thought when I watched it.
Yeah,
it was just as good. So
it's funny. It's like a movie, you like a certain scene or part or how it played out, and you watch it again and kind of pick up on different things and how that kind of run built up. That Pulisic, performed that whole game.
Yeah, no, that's that's true. Yeah.
And I was going to mention too, I guess you brought up a good point. Just that one trick pony is a good analogy as well. And how he's maybe adding some more dimensions to his game and things like that, and just being more disciplined in different areas. And that seems like it'll translate greatly. And he can really prove a lot of those Chelsea fans that are doubting him wrong.
Yeah, and there seems to be a lot of them nowadays.
Right,
which is a little concerning, I would say. But there has been, at least this season, some cause for concern for them. But this game, I would hope, starts to quell some of their doubts about him, and kind of lets him come into Chelsea and start kind of at the at the ground or at the base level with them.
No, yeah, that'd be awesome, Austin, just because I know we have a few, we have Miazga on loan, things like that, but just to have an American come in and just make that impact from the ground up, work hard and in training, things like that, and come in and just dominate the Premier League, and we're watching him, all of us, Sunday mornings, eating or whatnot, and enjoying an amazing Pulisic performance for Chelsea. That'd be great.
Yeah, I hope that happens. We'll see, and we'll wait to find out, I guess. But while we're on Chelsea, there is one more thing I wanted to bring up, talking about Pulisic. So Chelsea actually secured a Champions League spot for next year, which is very big, and it's something that didn't really look plausible earlier in the season, but they're able to come back
with help from failing Man U and Arsenal. Sorry, Austin.
Yeah, I know it's been brutal being an Arsenal fan the past few years, so it's all good, Pat. I'm used to it now. So that's great. If Pulisic can come in and dominate, kind of like you were saying, Pat, which I hope happens, but I don't know if that's going to happen. That's just my my bias, or our bias. But if that's able to happen, then that's yet another competition where Christian can take part in. It's a lot better than the Europa League, in my opinion, and it looks better on his resume. And, if he does come in and doesn't get time right away in that starting 11, which I think is the more plausible route, especially if Eden Hazard stays, which you never know, Pat. We're not sure at this moment.
Who knows? Those rumors are insane, but, Madrid calling, who knows?
Yeah, very true. But so if he's not in that starting 11 right away from day one, then the Champions League just provides, more games for Pulisic to take part in or get minutes in. So that's big time, I would say, for him.
Completely agree, Austin. You couldn't ask for more. And like you said, it would have been rough if they were another round in the Europa League. And it's an interesting time at Chelsea, but it could be a perfect time for Pulisic to kind of, as long with the other players as well that Chelsea have, to kind of, regroup and start the season strong and contend like they were, a few years ago. Yeah,
they do need to get back to those contending years. I feel like they've slipped a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Not too bad, but they're on the brink there. They go either way.
They're in the Arsenal positions.
That's right. So hopefully Pulisic can help assist in that area.
Yeah, bring him out of it. You don't want to be compared to Arsenal.
No.
So it was a good weekend for Pulisic on two fronts, and it was great to watch him this weekend. It was so much fun, and I guess we didn't even mention he was back in the starting lineup because of that Marco Reus red card. So that was I think we expected it with the way he came in and played last weekend, and then from some of the things Dortmund was saying. So I feel like that's kind of something that, you know, is a pretty big deal as well, and we're not even talking about it. But yeah,
it's a good point, Austin.
Yeah. So again, we're really excited about Pulisic. And we hope we can see another repeat performance next week, because Marco Reus will be out yet again with that red card suspension, and Marius Wolf as well will be out with a red card. So, you know, Pulisic will probably get that call to be a starter yet again. So yeah, and that will be Dortmund's final game, Pat. So
wow, that's it. The end of the Pulisic era.
Yeah, let's hope he goes out on top, even if Dortmund don't win the title. But yeah, so now, Pat, let's go over to Scotland and talk about a player who did win a title. And who would that be?
That's right, Austin, and none other than Timo Weah. This past Saturday, they played Aberdeen, and they won 3-0. And Tim got the start, which is great to see, and played 73 minutes. Looked pretty impactful, made some darting runs. And again, Scotland dominating the SPL as usual. I think it's their 8th consecutive title, which is pretty crazy.
Wow.
And a fun fact as well, United States related. It was the first title for any American player, you know, to be a part of in I think it was 8 years as well, since Maurice Adu. So
wow.
Yeah, congrats to Tim Weah being in that kind of company. Although he wasn't there for the whole year, but he was, you know, little impact substitute and played a few games here and there. Not as much as we'd like to see, but again, another title. And Austin, I believe he also qualified for getting a medal, or just being involved in the PSG Ligue 1 title as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that's the case. I think he played in 2 games for them. So if that does it for him, hey, that's some more hardware for him to pick up. That's,
exactly. Pretty good accomplishment for such a young player.
Yeah.
But yeah, just want to highlight, I guess, his time on Celtic, and you know, provide some statistics and just overall how he performed. So that was actually his 4th start, on loan from Celtic. So just want to mention that quickly. And between the SPL regular season to this was actually the second phase, they call it, similar to what we've mentioned in Belgium, where they have that playoff phase, or those different kind of areas for teams competing for Champions League or Europa, things like that. So with all of those games combined, including the Europa and some Scottish Cup games, I believe he had 17 appearances between all, 4 goals and an assist for Celtic there. So he played, I think it was 522 minutes altogether, and most of them 354 coming in the SPL. There was a time where he kind of came in with Brendan Rodgers, made some great, goals, got that team away a nickname, immediate impact, and made a few substitute appearances. But Austin kind of drifted away when Rodgers went to Leicester and Lennon came in. So, and I think he also had some injuries, I think we mentioned.
Yeah, it definitely seemed like his time faded once the new interim manager came in, which is part of, I guess, the loan cycle, or what could be part of going on loan. So that was disappointing, but yeah, I mean, he made the most, I think, of his time. He could have maybe scored a little bit more, but yeah, I think it was a positive loan overall. I don't know. What do you think, Pat?
Yeah, I'd say definitely positive. I'd probably give it like a 6.5 out of 10.
Okay.
So pretty positive, because again, it seems like a good league, and Scottish, again, the SPL is pretty physical, so we got that kind of physicality aspect, and still playing for a really high-level team, the best team in Scotland. So training day in and day out, learning a little bit from Rodgers from the time he had, and again, being part of that title run can only benefit him going forward. And I think, like you mentioned, we discussed this too over just Tim Weah's career. He has some very bright moments and looks really amazing, I guess, in key moments in games, but we'd just like to see him build on this for next year, and going in the summer with all these exciting tournaments he'll be involved with, but just to put full consistent performances, I guess, game in and game out together. Yeah.
I mean, he's still a young player. He's only 19, so it's bound to have, or he's bound to have inconsistencies in his game. But just like you said, that's kind of the next step for him, making sure some of these bright moments we see from him from time to time become bright games and so forth, become a bright season.
That's right, Austin. And I don't know if you're too familiar, but I wanted to bring this up as well. I think when Tim Weah went out on loan, was it Choupo-Moting, am I getting that name right, that came in?
Yeah.
It seemed like that was the player that really kind of took Tim Weah's, I guess, spot, you could say, or ousted him.
Yeah, I would say that. At least that's what it seemed like. And you'd have to think if Choupo-Moting wasn't there, that Tim Weah would be getting some time for PSG. I know they were playing some other younger prospects they have in their academy, but Tim Weah got game time last year. So
that's right. So again, like you said, I think a little more exposure to a top flight team here compared to his other loans, which is great to see. And again, just want to mention too, coming up, I guess, in the next few weeks, and as the seasons wind down and the summer begins, Austin.
That's right.
We have a few
weeks coming up.
That's right. We have an exciting few weeks with the U20 World Cup, which is amazing. Can't wait to watch that, as well as the Gold Cup. And an interesting poll I think we both saw on Twitter. Was it who was it again? You remember the name whose poll that was?
Yeah, I think it was the armchair analyst, Matt Doyle.
That's right, the armchair analyst. Yeah, so I think over 3,500 people voted in this poll just to see where they'd like to see Tim Weah play, or which tournament, the U20 World Cup or the Gold Cup. And it was a 52-48 split in favor of the U20s. But that's pretty tight, and 3,500 is a pretty big size there, or pool to pick from. So just want to want to gather your thoughts and see if we agree with the poll or not.
Yeah. So when you think about where Tim Weah is as a player right now, I personally think that the U20 World Cup would be the best option for him. We've seen him break through with two teams now, and that would be PSG and Celtic, and he got, I would say, some good game time this year with Celtic, but it's still not enough, in my opinion, to qualify him. Maybe qualify is not the right word I'm looking for, but I just feel like his time would be better spent being a consistent and even like a relied upon star at the U20 World Cup for the team, for the American team there, as opposed to being a bench player at the Gold Cup or a potential starter on the wing. But I don't really see Greg Berhalter calling him up and then, starting him when he didn't even call him up in any of the two camps that he had, or two camps that he had before the Gold Cup. So that's kind of my take. I think it would help him more as well. He got some good exposure at Celtic this year, and his last name is Weah, so he's gotten a lot of exposure from that. But I think just looking at his success at the U17 World Cup and how that kind of was a defining moment in his career, that game where he had a hat trick, that got a lot of recognition to him. And that video of that one goal really circulated around the internet for a little while. So I think if he could go to the U20 World Cup, be a player that the U20s rely upon, a player that's definitely, in my opinion, a difference maker if he's thrown into that squad up against any of the other U20 teams that they play in that group. I think that would be a good experience for him, and it would kind of maybe put in perspective the success and the rise he's had so far in his career, to show that he's tasted a little bit of success in the sense that he's won a few titles now at the full senior team level these 2 years that he's been a pro, I guess I would say. But it's also showing him that he still has some work to do playing with the U20s. He's surrounded by players his age again, so let's see what he can do. I don't know, I feel like I jumbled my thoughts a little bit there, but that's kind of all what I'm thinking about Tim Weah going to the U20 World Cup. I think it's a good experience for him because I think it's a competition where he can stand out. And then I also just think it's better served his time there as a starter than going to the Gold Cup and not really being played.
Yeah, I mean, Austin, that was a perfect summary. Exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. So I just want to completely agree with you, and glad we're on the same page there. Like you said, I think it would just be great for his development and being able to take this tournament, which is A lot of great players have come through and played in the U20 World Cup.
Oh yeah,
around his age. I think Pogba back in the day when we were watching, and
yeah.
I could go on and list a lot of players throughout all the international teams. Messi, I think even like Philip Lahm and some of those other top German players. I could be wrong, but there's definitely a few more that came through, and I think this is a perfect tournament to display and showcase his talents. And like you said, just building up some momentum with Celtic, getting more playing time, and building these titles and accolades, and having another great summer here instead of just kind of probably, like you said, sitting on the bench for the Gold Cup. I agree with you on that point.
Don't think Berhalter would call him up, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If he was going to call him up, I feel like he would have called him up already.
That's a good point. Yeah, you brought up without the camps there, not getting calls.
Yeah. But, yeah, so I just don't see Berhalter thinking of Weah as a first-team national team player, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and I hope he proves us wrong. But
yeah,
I mean, no, yeah. Again, don't want to harp too much, but I think you hit the nail on the head there, and I'd really love to see him with the U20s. With some great defining moments there. And if he goes back to PSG and plays more, or this helps propel him into a better loan situation, that'd be fantastic. So, all the best for Weah, and congratulations on our Scottish Yankee winning the SPL title there.
Yeah, definitely big congrats for that. That's it was cool to see him celebrating with all the boys with an H.
That's right, the boys.
So
in paradise.
Yeah, in paradise. So that's a big congrats. But one more thing, and I this is a little off the cuff, so apologize, Pat, because I'm going to put you on the spot with this. So I know Tim Weah was the one player that was talked about going to the U20 World Cup. But what about another player such as Josh Sargent? Do you think Josh Sargent should go to the U20 World Cup, or should he be, a player that Greg calls up? Because Josh was a player that Greg brought up and said that he sees with the first team. So we know that Josh will probably be on one of the two rosters this summer. So Pat, what do you think about Josh?
I think the key that I want to extrapolate, I guess, from what you just said is, sees him, as I kind of took that as sees him maybe in the near future down the road as being a crucial piece.
Okay.
And maybe would be really beneficial again. I think he's I don't know, it's really hard to compare him in a way, but just in terms of their club situations, I think, again, it would benefit both of them to be, I guess, the starlets or the stars of the U20 World Cup and help lead them. Again, if he did go to the Gold Cup, which I would say he has a better shot, I guess, like you mentioned, he's been involved in some camps, things like that. But compared to Weah,
he hasn't been involved in a full men's national team camp with Greg yet.
Oh, he hasn't? Okay.
Yeah, he was on what was it? I guess the U23.
So that's right. That's right.
Also on the U23.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So again. So it's
an interesting situation. It's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd say my point. I want to hear yours too, but the U20 World Cup, I would definitely see Sargent at.
Really? Okay. I'd have to say I agree with you. Sargent has really not had a good experience at his club.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Since March, maybe. I can't remember when his last regular, or when he was last regularly getting appearances and being on the bench for them. He's been on and off the bench. I think he got an appearance a few weeks ago for Bremen, but it's really kind of gone downhill for him at Bremen. And I know, he's still a very young player. He's only, I believe, 19 now. So I'm not too worried about him yet, but I am also getting a little concerned. And I do think that the U20 World Cup would be a good kind of pedestal for him, sort of in the same way it would be for Weah, where I think it would kind of give him some confidence, and I think he would be a player that would just come in, and even though he hasn't gotten, regular game time at his club and consistent minutes at any level, not even at the U23s for Bremen, I think he'd be able to find that match fitness again and that form again, and be at least a difference maker for the U20s. So, yeah, I'm in agreement with you, Pat. I think there's no reason we should kind of limit ourselves for some of these players. I think, I can't justify Josh being on the Gold Cup roster since he hasn't really played that much. And if he's not, in my mind, worthy of a spot on the Gold Cup roster, then I think he should be definitely on that U20 roster. I don't think we should leave him at home just because he's, a player that's past the U20s. But I don't know. It's such a weird situation. I wish we weren't in this situation, but
yeah, I completely agree. Yeah, again, I think Weah and Sargent, we'd love to see them take it to the next levels with their clubs there and the first teams, and hopefully this U20 World Cup will be the place that kind of elevates them, like you said, or puts them on that pedestal.
Yeah, because if they have good success there, as a group, if the group has good success and, say makes like the semifinal or even makes or wins the final, then that would definitely be a very good experience for them.
Oh, yeah. That'd be awesome. That's what we hope for, Austin.
Yeah, that's what we hope.
but just want to guess again, like we said, congratulations to Tim Weah. Keep plugging along, and maybe him and Sargent, if they're on this roster, can be or the U20s can bring home that World Cup.
Yeah, we'll see.
But switching gears, Austin, going back to Germany there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about Weston McKennie, who started and played, I believe it was 90 minutes at center back for Schalke. I know people were saying right back, but it was more of a right center back in a 3-at-the-back system. And that was in their 0-0 draw with Augsburg this weekend. So, in this game, McKennie, looked clean defensively, didn't have too many moments of great urgency, but, when a few of those moments came up, he did look, more than capable of dealing with the pressure. He didn't really have too much involvement going forward. He was more of kind of the facilitator, facilitating possession around the back, and then just, cleaning up any Augsburg attacks. But like I was talking with Pat off camera, in this game, it seemed like both offenses were anemic in the final third, and there was some good play, I would say, but there was maybe a few chances per team where they really could have scored, and both teams didn't capitalize on them and kind of made their own error.
Austin seems to be the story of Schalke this year.
Pretty much. So, yeah, I can't really say too much about, Weston's performance this week. I think it was, a good performance. It was perfectly fine. Schalke are safe from relegation right now, so I think they're just kind of waiting for the season to be over. And, hey, they picked up a point. So, I hope we don't see Weston McKennie much at center back next year. And I think we'll actually, go into a little bit about next year right now. So I know last week we brought up the rumor that David Wagner, the former Huddersfield coach and also former men's national team player, USMNT player, is potentially going to be the coach of Schalke next year. And it seems like that rumor was confirmed this week. And it hasn't been confirmed by Schalke directly, but by all the newspapers, in that area and some media outlets. It seems like that's a done deal. So just looking at, David Wagner and his last few, or I looked at pretty much the past 2 years he was at Huddersfield. And basically, I just wanted to see what formation he usually plays with Huddersfield and kind of see where Weston McKennie fits in. And Pat, David Wagner, when he was in the championship, played more of a 4-2-3-1. And then when Huddersfield was first promoted to the Premier League, that's kind of the formation they started off playing. But then he moved to more of a 3-at-the-back system. And I think it was more like a 3-5-2.
Load up the midfield.
Yeah. And it was basically, you had your wing backs, and then you had kind of your three central midfielders. You basically had one that sat a little bit deeper and acted kind of as like a shield for the back three, I guess you could say. And then you had two strikers up top in that formation. So, that was kind of what Huddersfield played for the past, I would say, year and a half that he was in charge. They basically tried the 4-2-3-1 the first few weeks in the Premier League, and then they kind of switched it to that formation and different variations. They did go back to the 4-at-the-back, once in a while in certain games, but it was basically you would see, and when I was looking at it, you basically saw, David's time in the championship with Huddersfield, all 4-2-3-1 every single game, and then once the Premier League hit, it was kind of like three at the back, three at the back, three at the back, four at the back, three at the back, three at the back. And
can't blame them, right?
Yeah. I mean, Huddersfield was definitely, undermatched in most of their games that they played in the Premier League. So I understand how, that would be a formation you'd kind of throw out on the field to try and give yourself a chance. But, I think he'll be working with a little bit more talent at Schalke, even though they haven't shown it this year. So I think he'll go back to that 4-2-3-1, and I think we'll see Weston play as one of those holding midfielders, which is music to my ears, especially after this season.
Yeah, especially like you said, Austin. He's been playing pretty much every position, so it'd be great to kind of see him, stick with one and really develop, I guess, in that one area.
Yeah, and I think that's the perfect spot for him. I think he, like we've talked about in our past episodes, I think he can get forward, and I think he does good things going forward. But I think he would be best suited in that kind of that deep lying CDM position. And I think it's good that he has a partner with him if that is the formation that they play, because then that will allow him to go forward from time to time. So I'm really excited about David, being the manager at Schalke. I think it's going to be a really good relationship with Weston McKennie and a good partnership for them. And I think it's really going to help Schalke. I'm so excited about it.
Yeah.
What about you?
No, I completely agree. I think, again, Schalke is desperate need for that new coach, I guess, that new energy. And Wagner, we definitely seen, again, he had 1 year in the Premier League with Huddersfield that, he kept them afloat there, and seemed pretty decent, gave some of the top four teams, some scares and things like that. So I think just going over to Germany and, like you said, some more talent, things like that, because they were a Champions League, club and did fairly well throughout the group stage there. So and again, he has a lot of different pieces that he can play with and, work to his advantage. And I think Weston's just that kind of player that could really, fit the mold into his system and put his head down and work hard and really kind of, fit, I guess, any role that he wants to put him in his formation. Yeah,
that's a good point. I really don't want to see Weston thrown all over the pitch.
Yeah.
In different positions, but it has really, I guess, helped his flexibility, going forward in his career, having this year at Schalke be that mixed bag of positions. At least, when a new manager comes in, he's the guy that can kind of do it all. So I think that'll, I guess, bode well for him. I just hope we can find, or Schalke can find, like a consistent spot for him. And I hope David will be able to do that for Weston next year.
Right.
It's good to have that experience, but, I think we found out, where Weston can thrive at Schalke.
Yeah, that'd be great for his club and country.
Yeah, no, we don't want to see Weston at right back or center back for the men's national team anytime soon. So that's it for Weston this week. The Bundesliga has, I believe, only one more week left. So
we're winding down here, Austin.
Yeah, it's getting to that time of the year. We can't wait for the Gold Cup too. So. The roster should be released soon. So
stay tuned.
Yeah. So now let's go over to Belgium. And Pat, let's talk about one of our USMNT keepers and one of your favorites.
That's right, Austin. And that is Ethan Horvath for Club Bruges, involved in an exciting playoff race right now. So this past weekend, they won 1-0, and Ethan Horvath had a shutout, which is great, and 5 key saves during the game against Ghent in like I mentioned, the Belgian playoffs. So they're in their second phase, you call it, or I think it's a different name, obviously, than what we mentioned previously with Scotland, Austin. But they are, I believe, I think in second place, right behind Genk, who is having a fantastic season. And I think Genk is actually, they go face-to-face next weekend. So if you guys are a fan of Horvath and want to watch that, it's an exciting game.
You just can't see it on first row.
That's right. Yeah, you can't go see it in first row, and I don't know how Reddit streams. It's tough. So we'll try to keep you updated and see if we can find other streams there. But I was mentioning too, so they're Genk is 6 points ahead with 2 games left. and I think they have a 3 or 4 goal differential on Bruges. So it's going to be kind of a tricky task. But if Ethan can help keep a shutout and Bruges can pour on some goals and get a victory, and make the race very interesting there for that Champions League spot.
Yeah, and that would be what if they are able to pull it off. That would be his second title in 2 years.
That's right, Austin. Yeah, last year he had a rough going, and he came in right at the end, I think, for a few games in the playoffs and performed really well and won that title and led them in chant with the microphone, with the Bruges fans. So that was exciting to see, and he's played very well, throughout the year here. And I mean, again, like we've mentioned, he's fantastic with acrobatic saves and has really great athletic ability, I think, and a great frame for a keeper. But it's just exactly just a few moments, Austin, that we've seen for club and country, that just a few little moments that kind of as he takes a few good steps forward, might be a little big step back, I guess you could say.
Yeah, some David De Gea, Loris Karius. Who else can we throw in there?
I don't even know. Maybe a Mignolet, but I don't know.
But yeah, I mean that's what we've seen from him. I can't argue with that. And
right.
It's a little upsetting, but like you said, he's made good progress at Bruges after being ousted. So hey, props to him.
Yeah, I mean, that was an amazing comeback, Austin, because we were not talking about it at all, I think, for a good part of our show there earlier.
Yeah, we both thought like, oh, that might be a career defining moment from him. And I guess you could say it is a career defining moment because he did make his way back. So yeah,
and it would be great, again, like you said, to kind of although it seems tough right now, you got to stay positive. If you can get that title, that's great. But just want to mention, with his strong performances, Austin, I know we saw on Twitter and some articles, I think from different Belgian outlets and things like that were mentioning that Horvath's drawing interest from England and Germany. So some of those clubs.
Ooh, okay.
So it'd be exciting to see. I mean, again, there's a plethora of clubs he could go to, but it'd be, I think, a really great step. And I did also read an article, Austin, that Bruges is rumored to be looking at Mignolet, although his wages are ridiculously high, and that's pretty unlikely. But the reason I think they're looking at Mignolet and some other keepers are that Horvath has really, his market value, transfer value, has gone up significantly this year.
Oh, okay. So trying to turn a profit on him and capitalize on Mignolet's, backup situation at Liverpool.
Exactly. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. But yeah, Austin, it'll be, it's been a great season for him, and excited to see kind of what happens and transpires, I guess.
Does he start at the Gold Cup?
I don't think he starts at the Gold Cup, Austin.
Okay.
I mean, again, I would love to see him kind of build that, especially with Berhalter once out his keepers, building out of the back and playing some of those key short balls, or even those, how do you even say it? I was actually watching Kasper Schmeichel play some of these earlier with Leicester. These kind of like chips, I guess, but not to half field, but maybe to like a wing back or an outside back, like looped over the first line of forwards. Right on their feet. So even kind of those, I think, would be fantastic. And we've seen Ethan play some very great long balls and get assists, but just being more composed with his feet and playing to some of his center backs and outside backs there, Austin, as I think Stefan has that position right now locked.
Okay. So I'm Team Stefan at the moment. I'm gonna make it a little Twilight reference. But I'm on Stefan's bandwagon. I think at the moment he's our best keeper. But this summer a lot can change, because
it's gonna be tough, Austin.
When Stefan leaves MLS, there goes his safety.
Yeah, kind of that second try, I guess you could say, in Europe. But
that's true. Yeah.
I want to mention too, I guess, in club situation too. Again, I know he's going to Man City and could be loaned out to different areas, but Horvath's in a pretty solid spot with a top Belgian team, pretty competitive league, and
in the Champions League.
In the Champions League, Austin.
He's last year,
and he dropped to the Europa, this year after getting eliminated in the Champions League. So, it might not be a Man City, but he is, inside and out playing pretty well and getting a lot of game time. And I'd be very curious to see where Stefan ends up. So it'll be interesting to monitor that battle. An exciting and healthy competition for the goalies there.
Yeah, it seems like we always have one in our USMNT. Like, what was it? I guess Friedel and Keller, and then I guess you could say Keller and Howard for a period of time, and then towards the end of Howard's career, I guess you could say Howard and Guzan. So
that's right, and some Premier League players there.
Yeah, and then competition breeds what is it? What's the popular phrase? Isn't there a popular phrase? I don't know.
It's slipping off the top of my head, but I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's a position we haven't had a problem with, Austin.
Yeah, and that's a good thing. So, yeah, so that's really exciting to hear about Ethan, and we'll have to keep monitoring him.
All right, guys, it's that time of the show. It's our favorite time of the show, and I hope it's yours as well. It's none other than Quick Kicks.
So you could test Dwayne Miller. It's Altidore over the wall, and that one is in! Josie Altidore from a long way out. The opening goal for the United States.
And to start off Quick Kicks, we're heading over to the Netherlands in PSV's U19s. And Richie Ledezma actually played and scored his first goal in a 1-1 draw against NAC Breda's U19s. So congrats to Richie.
Nice. And Taylor Booth and Chris Richards both started and played 90 minutes in Bayern's U19's 3-1 win this weekend. So congrats to those guys.
That's awesome, Austin. And heading over to Spain, Shaq Moore with Levante 2 actually scored a screamer in an unfortunate 3-1 loss to Villarreal 2.
And Sebastian Soto was back with Hannover's U19s this weekend, but scored both goals for them in their 2-0 win over Dynamo Dresden's U19s. So, back in the youth leagues, but back to his scoring ways.
That's great, Austin. Keep the goals coming. And heading over to the championship with Reading, and Matt Miazga actually started and played the full 90 in a 0-0 draw against Birmingham City.
Nice. And Jonathan Amon followed up his start last week with another start this week, played all 90 minutes in Nordsjælland's 0-0 draw with Esbjerg.
And heading back to the championship, Antonee Robinson started and played the full 90 in a 1-0 win for Wigan against Millwall.
Nice. And Charlie Kelman scored a goal in Southend United's U18's 4-1 win over the weekend, and this win actually secured them the EFL Youth League One title. So congrats to Charlie. He's always doing big things.
Fantastic news, Austin. And heading over to the championship, Cameron Carter-Vickers started and played the full 90 for Swansea in a 2-2 draw against Blackburn Rovers.
Nice. And Chris Gloster started and played 90 minutes for Hanover 2 in their 1-1 draw with Wolfsburg 2 over the weekend.
And again, in the championship, Duane Holmes started in a crucial game and played 65 minutes in a 3-1 win against West Brom, which puts them into the championship playoff against Leeds United.
Nice. And Patrick Leal scored a goal in Sporting U16's 2-0 win over the weekend. So congrats to Patrick.
And last but not least, Austin, Jack Imperato actually scored for Villarreal Juvenil B in their 3-2 win against Olympic.
And as always, guys, thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to our channel down below.
And also, you guys don't want to miss a single thing right now on our social media pages, our Instagram and Twitter. We're putting out some fantastic content right now, actually a top 20 U20 eligible American player list. So we'll be posting each day here some exciting young players that are hoping to make a name for themselves at the U20 World Cup.
Yeah, that's right, Pat. And we'll also have a few players on that list who probably won't be at the U20 World Cup just because they're, how would you say it, past that level or, more mature players. So, definitely keep your eye out for that. Let us know if you like that on Twitter and Instagram. It's something that we thought you guys would like. But, yeah. So I guess there's only one thing left to say, Pat.
That's right, Austin. There's only one thing left to say, and it all starts with this young generation, the exciting soccer talents on the rise, and they're going to help achieve an exciting goal here.
That's right. So first we're going to win the 2019 U20 World Cup. Then we're going to take that success and wait a few years. We'll let it mature, cultivate a little bit, and then one day we're going to win the 2026 full World Cup. So here's to that.